All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are going fishing. This morning, we are going to talk about and fish a fly of some significance. I wanted to do this. I've been trying to do a series on flies that are important. And, I did a Clouser minnow one, and then I totally forgot about it. Or totally forgot about doing a series like this. So here's where we pick up flies that matter. And today we're going to talk about Blaine Chocolate's Gamechanger. Probably the most aptly named fly ever designed. The Gamechanger, for those of you that don't know, is a fly built on individual shanks instead of hooks, which create an articulated spine. So instead of tying the fly on one hook and maybe, an big long articulated shank and a hook, or two shanks and two hooks, or whatever, this is 5 or 6 tiny little articulated shanks to create a very lifelike movement. And I think people are intimidated by this fly, whether it be tying it or buying it. I know for a while there, I personally was like, well, I don't want to tie them because it looks very painful, and I certainly don't want to buy them because they look like they cost 12 bucks a pop. So I'm just not going to worry about the Gamechanger. And then checking out some guy's rod vault. And then I stumbled across a tutorial on them and just tied a couple, and it turns out they are not difficult to tie at all. They take a while. That is the trade-off. You're not going to bust a couple out in a couple minutes. It takes a little time. So maybe we'll sit down at the fly tying desk and look at what it actually takes. I'm not going to tie them for you. You can go watch Blaine Chocolate tie them. He's going to show you a little bit better than I can. But definitely a fly that has revolutionized what a baitfish imitation can look like. Now I'm fishing, I tied mostly what they call a finesse Gamechanger, which is a small 3 to 4 inch size baitfish. I think I used 5 shanks and then a hook, so 6 segments overall in most of these. And I've been experimenting with shank size. You can get them in all different shapes and sizes. You can get them from 10 millimeters, which is very small, all the way up to 40 millimeters, which is sizable, as you're talking muskie and pike flies up at that end. But I've experimented using a 10, 2 10s, 2 15s, a 20, and then a hook and stuff like that, just varying the size of the shanks and just playing around with it. Once you understand the concept of how the fly is tied, it is very easy to manipulate and play with and experiment with. Not nearly as intimidating as it looks. Mostly because, whoa, watch out. Mostly because of the materials that were developed specifically for making this fly, which is really cool. So we're gonna fish. I wanted to get out a little earlier, but I had work stuff, and what time is it? I don't have a watch on. 7:12. And the sun is coming up, and we don't have any clouds, so I don't know how long we're gonna be able to fish for. Water is very low. So we're gonna get out and try and fish a Gamechanger for a little bit, try and snag a smallmouth or two, and then we'll sit down at the vise and look at what it really takes to make these flies. Hopefully we can find some fish that want to play. It is getting very late in the summer. The water is so low that it's hard to find big fish, especially. We could probably find a little fish or two, but I don't know if they're gonna eat this because, well, this is not a small fly. Even though I'm fishing, a smaller finesse Gamechanger, it still isn't exactly tiny. It's a mouthful for most fish. So we'll see what we can come up with, and we'll go from there. Alright, so we're going to talk quick about why the Gamechanger is, so cool. And just really, really simple to tie once you know how to do it. And just because it's simple to tie doesn't mean it doesn't take a little time, because it does. But it's not hard to do. And you can do them in any sort of color. And what's really cool about these is the materials that have been developed for you to tie them are just really easy to use. So this is the finesse body chenille. This is the large size, so it's about 1.25 inches off from the center cord of the chenille. And then there's a finesse body medium, and I think this is like 1 inch. And when you pull this out of the bag, it just looks like this. Just chenille like, and it comes in all different colors, white, olive, pink, whatever you want. There are also what's called a Blaine Chocolate Gamechanger body wrap, which is a larger material. Same idea though. So the way these Gamechangers are constructed is on shanks like this, a tiny little shank, instead of, actually this isn't a tiny one, this is a 20mm shank. Instead of tying on the hook, tie on these shanks. Let's see if that's in focus. Good enough. And you can get, these are 12mm, I've got 10mm, I've got 15, I've got 20, I've got some 45mm. So you can get them in all different shapes and sizes. And what you do basically is you take your shanks, some thread on them. I'm just going to do this real quick to show you how this works. We're not going to worry about technique or how this is really done. If you want to see how a Gamechanger is tied from start to stop, or start to finish, go watch Blaine Chocolate do it. He is the expert. And so all you do is put this chenille on the rear of the shank as far back as possible, because you want to fill the gap in between the two sections. Then all you do, wrap it to the front while drawing the material rearward. So it's almost like palmering hackle on something like a woolly bugger. You just wrap it, just like bob it out of the way, while pulling the material rearward. And that's really all there is to it. So you're going to take, honestly, as many shanks, as many independent sections as you want. 5 or 6 seems to be, 5 or 6 seems to be the just about ideal. And then once you finish this, and I'm rushing through this and making it kind of messy, and I'm going to tie this off a little closer to the eye than I normally would. You want to fill up the shank, especially in the rear. In the front, you want to not crowd the eye, but you still want to fill it. So I could probably go around this one more time. Draw on that material to the rear. Lock it down. My bobbin holder's in the way. Making a mess. Then snip off your excess. Then I just draw everything to the rear. Give it a wrap or two around the nose. And then for durability's sake, I will hit this with super glue or resin just right here on your final wrap where I'll whip finish that. And then where I whip finish it, I'll just hit it with super glue or resin. And then you're done. And then all you got to do, grab your next shank. Should have got this out of the bag earlier. Then you pop that shank into this eyelet, and so you're making another section, and so on and so on and so on until you have the length you want or whatever. So I'm just going to break this off of here. We're not going to tie a whole fly. But if we did, it might look something like this. Now, there's a finished. There you go. And I use, for these smaller finesse style game changers, I use a marabou tail. That's just 2 tufts of marabou. You probably saw in the video earlier, I wanted to show you some underwater footage of that game changer I was tying. The marabou I was using obviously isn't the same color as the game changer material. It was a lot darker. So I'm going to need to, so same marabou on this one, so I'm obviously going to need to get some slightly different colored marabou. But actually gives it kind of like a mottled smallmouth look, which is actually kind of cool. And you saw that first fish I caught today just took the eyes right off that fly, which, you know, it happens, but fish still wanted to eat it afterwards, so not a big deal. And the real advantage here, the real reason the game changer is a game changer, is because of the way it moves in the water. Nothing undulates and articulates like this aside from maybe a dragon tail, and that's why it's so cool and so effective. So if you're looking to tie game changers, all you got to do, get some shanks, get some of the chenille, Hairline makes it, or some of the body wrap, and you basically tie up all these little puff balls to the shanks, and then once you have them tied, what you do is you'll come through. There you can see the hook in the head. These are those Kona big game hooks, which are really nice and stupid sharp. What you do is you come down with a pair of scissors and you taper the body, so you trim the tail small and then have the body get fatter and fatter and fatter as you get up to the head. And then I try to flatten the sides like a baitfish would be, you know, flatter on the sides than it is round. But anyway, that is the gist of the game changer. Incredible fly. There's really nothing like it. Like I said, those dragon tails do give you that motion, but they don't look anything like this, you know, as far as realism goes. So I encourage people to try and tie them. They are not difficult to tie. That was, what I showed you was really like the most of it. You just got to do that 5 or 6 times, and it's a little tedious, and I think that's what turns people off. So try it. Thanks for watching.